Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor. We talk about movies on this show, and in this episode we are starting our way down a franchise because there's a new one coming out later this year. We had a lot of this last year. There was a lot of movies coming out where we did all the previous movies in the franchise. Wasn't as many this year because we decided we didn't want to tackle the Marvel like
monstrosity
pit
backlog.
Yeah, all 18 of those. Well, we've done a couple of them recently. The new ones, obviously, as they came out, but the rest of
and
them.
we technically did Thor.
No, we did the first Thor.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
did do both
I'm
Thors.
saying we did that one.
Because we did the first one and realised, oh wait, we don't have much to say about these movies because reasons.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but we are doing at least one this year, and that is because the new Predator film, The Predator, is coming out later this year. Interestingly, Connor's never seen any of these before. This is going to be a first-time viewing for all of them. Not for me. I grew up liking the first two movies, and then I saw the new one when it came out, and the AVP movie, which were included because we did all the Alien movies last year for Alien Covenant coming out. So we saved AVP 1 and 2 for the Predator run because obviously Alien has more movies, so it made sense to have that. So there'll be 5 Predator movies this year and 5 Alien movies last year, and here we go. So obviously we're starting at the start with Predator from 1987, directed by John McTiernan, who went on to direct Die Hard, of course. Arguably an even bigger film than this one, but these are definitely his two claims to fame, I think, more than anything. We'll start spoiler free. I mean, I don't think there's a ton to spoil really, but we'll start spoiler free. I'll give you a warning before we go proper into spoilers if we do. And yeah, so if you somehow don't know what Predator is, alien on planet, Arnold Schwarzenegger and his team of elite commandos are on a mission in the jungle, and they start being hunted by this alien predator who has cool weapons and shit, and like
There we go. That's the movie.
Not cloak, but invisibility kind of like tech that's like
Camouflage sort of thing.
Yeah, it's advanced, like almost like a. It reminds me of it is camouflage, but it reminds me I'm thinking of the effect. The modern thing I would say is like in like Shield, Agents of Shield, whenever the jet goes invisible.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that. You can see the outline of it, and you can see kind of in this specifically in Predator, the effect has like a sort of ripple kind of effect to it.
Shimmer. Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Ghost in the Shell.
Oh yeah, I can see that. I'd say it the other way around because obviously I saw Predator as a kid and Ghost in the Shell I didn't see till last year, but yeah. Well, obviously I like it because I grew up watching this, but I'm curious because Connor sometimes has really funny opinions about movies that the rest of us grew up with. So
that's true.
Oh, did you enjoy Predator?
Yeah, it's all right. I don't love it. Here's the thing. I'm not the target audience for these movies. I don't think it's an action movie through and through, and typically they don't get they're perfectly fine. Like I acknowledge that it's clearly a decently well-made movie. It's perfectly good, but it doesn't grab me necessarily.
I want to grab you.
No, that's fair. I feel very similar about a lot of action movies from this time though. Like where it's like I see they're good movies, but honestly, I don't know if I ever want to watch them again.
Honestly, like every time I watch it, I'm always surprised a little bit how it's actually almost equally a horror movie as an action movie. It's very slasher movie. They get picked off one by one. Like it's very. Very much in that kind of realm. The premise is basically it's a slasher movie, but the final girl is Arnold Schwarzenegger. So instead of just running away, he goes mano a mano at the end. it's basically
pretty much, yeah.
It's basically the plot of the film. So it's pretty much all in the jungle. There's a little bit at a base at the start, but it's all otherwise in the jungle, which is fine. It's one of the funny things. I feel like when you shoot a movie in the forest, it often feels like you're trying to be cheap because I wouldn't go out into the forest and cheap. But this is the jungle. This is a tropical
this
jungle.
Doesn't feel like that at all.
No.
I won't.
Yeah.
Here's what else is like. Okay, so I feel like I'm going to compare this a lot to Alien because they're very similar movies in that sense.
Okay. Yeah.
In the sense that Alien's kind of a slasher haunted house movie, right?
Right,
this is kind of fitting that same thing. It's a bit more actiony, but ultimately, I don't really care about any of the characters in this. They're all just kind of, they're just there to shoot things and die. There's some likable lines here or there, but I don't like any. I don't really like any of the characters in the in the same way I can tell you things about like that, like why I like characters in Alien. That's what sets this apart for me.
I'm trying to dispute that. I'm trying to think of how to dispute that. I don't know if I can. Because
No, don't get me wrong, they're fine for what their role is
yeah,
here, but they're very surface level.
oh, they are, but I mean, I think that's. I think the reason why this movie works, and it's not as good as a movie as Alien. I'm not trying to like this. Yeah, Alien's a better film. Aliens is also a better film, but you have very very simple characters. A very this elite team, right? There's a couple of jokes to sort of distinguish them. Shane Black's in there, who did not actually write this. Obviously, we know him for writing and directing now. He's writing and directing the new one. He was in the first Predator.
It's all come full circle.
He's the one who's telling the pussy jokes. That's how you.
Yeah, I know.
That's the Shane Black one. That's how you distinguish him.
But that's his entire character.
Oh, that's his entire character. The Native American guy is the tracker and the warrior. Jesse the Body Ventura is the guy who thinks he's really tough.
Yeah.
And has a minigun that he calls Old Painless. Bill Duke is Mac, who cares about his buddy.
Yeah.
Jesse Ventura. And he's kind of nostalgic about the past exploits. He always talks about going on about the past
previous missions and stuff.
Yeah. You have Carl Weller's character Dylan, who used to know Dutch. That's Arnie's character. He's more of a government man now, and
Arnie's just Arnie.
And yeah, and then there's Poncho, who's like just the other guy. The other dude.
Pretty much, and I think that's why for me it's a perfectly good movie, but not one that I love because the action's all fine, but that's not enough for me.
Oh yeah, it's the action, the way it's shot, and the sci-fi elements of it are what make it work. Because the characters are not deep.
No, but for anything of this type of movie is always that I have to have something more for me personally.
Okay.
But I mean, I actually have some nitpicks with some of the action stuff later on, but that will be in some spoiler talk.
All right, okay.
Some queries. Which I will say now. I say nitpicks. They may be answered later in the franchise that I don't know, but I have questions.
All right. I feel the need to defend then, but so no, I grew up with Predator. I watched this as a kid. Obviously, like it for all the surface level reasons to like it, and I think this is a proper, excellent B movie in the sense that it is all pretty much surface level. It's just, it's well done. It's got a cool character design. Stan Winston's design for the Predator. He looks great. He looks fantastic.
When you finally see it.
What's the stealth negativity in there?
No, I'm just saying that was just based on expectations.
You were just expecting to see it. No, because you build up and then you reveal.
You do.
You don't show the shark in Jaws 5 minutes in. You wait to the end.
To be fair, though, that's because it was a pretty shitty looking shark. That was like, okay, this is what we can do. Let's hide it.
Which, I'll give them credit for this then. They showed restraint because their design looks fantastic. Predator looks great.
This is clearly a creative choice. Yeah. Absolutely.
He looks great. In fact, that's maybe the one thing that I'll give Predator over Alien is I think I might like the Predator more overall as a design.
Really? Okay.
Just the beast itself. I think when it comes to Alien, if you start bringing in like the ship, the egg, all the other stuff with it, because there's a lot more in Alien.
That's not competing with this here. But beast for beast.
Beast for beast. I might like the. See, this feels unfair because I guess you're comparing two completely different things. But I think the reason why I maybe like the Predator a little bit more than the Alien is because the Predator actually has a bit of a character.
That's fair. Just on pure design aesthetic, I think I prefer the Alien. It's a bit sleeker.
Okay, I'll put it this way. With the mask on, I prefer the Predator. When the mask comes off, I prefer the Alien.
Right. Okay.
Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think his face was like I think it looks cool, but like what I like about the Predator is the mask.
The mask's the iconic part.
Yeah. That's the look I like.
I'm not disputing it's a very great. It is like this is like I'm saying I prefer Alien as a design because it's sleeker, but I will not say anything wrong with this design. It's excellent. Clearly.
Yeah, and obviously, well, maybe you'll save it for spoilers, but there is a little bit of character to the Predator and like a sense of honor that we'll get to. perhaps.
That's true.
Which is partly why I think the movie works. Like, if you are going to go, I think at its deepest level, the reason why it works is because the Predator is basically one of these dudes from another planet.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Right? And I think that's why these characters are who they are, because that's who this character is essentially.
It is. It's one of the key differences between this and Alien. Whereas Aliens, it's the unknowable force, the unstoppable.
Yeah.
This is one of us.
This is understandable. Yeah, you can kind of track the logic of what's happening here.
Yeah.
So design's really cool. Most of his weapons and powers, I think, are, I say powers. He doesn't have powers, but his tech, all of his tech, all of it to me feels really fully fleshed out, in the sense that this feels like a complete set of things that this civilization, whoever they are, like have. Sure. Nothing feels like tacked on and weird or anything like that. It all feels like, it has the thermal vision because their vision works this way, so that the mask enhances it in this way to make them see better. Like, everything feels like it kind of works. And obviously the arsenal kind of gets expanded a little bit movie to movie, because they wanted more fun props and stuff. And some of them are cool, some of them are just kind of excessive. But here, obviously, it's very pared down. He's got the gun on the shoulder. He's got the very iconic the laser targeting. It's the three dots, the 3 lines. Really cool. I think the sound design of the Predator is also really cool. That sort of clicking.
The clicking, yeah. No, that's something I do love. Is the sound? It's again, that's a very iconic sound as well. Like, even I had not seen this movie, but I know that sound.
Hell,
I know that sound is the Predator.
2 weeks in a row, we have covered a movie scored by Alan Silvestri.
Yeah, this is one of his better works, in my opinion.
I mean, his best is clearly Back to the Future, but yes, this is obviously up there with some of his iconic stuff.
I think this is better than Back to the Future.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I can't.
No.
I can't get on with that. That said, though, I always get a little bit hyped when I'm starting, because obviously the movie starts with the shot of space as the title's coming up, but you see the little, just in the distance, just a little like ship like coming down to Earth. You see it in the distance, and it's just that nice bit of just ambient strings. But then when it cuts to the helicopter, we're introduced to the troops, like da na 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 na. It's just
music's great.
There's a real force to it. I also like there's like I won't say who, but there's like a death theme, almost a funeral theme at one point. What's actually funny about Predator 2, and we'll talk about this when we cover it, but is how Predator 2 is actually, despite the completely different setting, is almost beat for beat kind of the same movie, which is why some people criticize it a lot. I actually kind of love Predator 2, just to spoil my opinion on that, but it's funny, like the beat where that music plays is almost identical in Predator 2. That's the one where I think it shows the most, is when that theme starts playing, the exact same track, the same cue, and I'm like, you're not even hiding this movie, come on.
No, I can tell you now, I'm going to criticize that, but I will say that's just a standard thing of sequels at the time.
It's a sequel thing, and I think if you do view this as kind of a slasher movie, it also ties into what slasher movies do, is that they basically have another set of characters that they think can kill off.
Yeah, it just does the same thing over again, just with someone else somewhere else. That's fine. It's a criticism, but it's what it is.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's what you expect. So, and obviously, as much as you can criticize the characters, I actually do think the cast, for the most part, do a really good job of keeping them all separate and all having distinct personalities. I feel like they're all very strong. As much as you're saying there's not like deep, and there isn't deep characters, I'm not disputing that. I remember all these faces. I remember how they all act. Other than Hawkins, not Hawkins. That's Shane Black. Other than Poncho. Poncho's the one. He's like the communications guy. Like he's nothing. He's not memorable.
I don't know. Maybe this is partly that you've seen it so much, though, because to me, I'm like, they're all likable enough. One or two of them stand out, but then the rest kind of blur in.
Oh, I don't know. What's his face? Blaine, Jesse Ventura's character. I ain't got time to bleed. All his crap. Like
but it's all bravado. A lot of them are like bravado, like that.
Oh, it's bravado. Yeah.
But because it's all that, like a lot of them feel very samey to me.
Nah, maybe this is just a case of having seen it dozens and dozens of times.
You're noticing the smaller differences more, whereas to me they kind of feel very similar. Yeah. All of them.
Okay, all right. I mean, I don't know. I do see differences in them. They all have just enough different that I can. I admit it's slim. It's not like.
I'm not saying they're all like identical. I can see there is differences, but I don't think that they're particularly memorable enough that I can go, oh, that's that one. Like necessarily, I can tell you, oh yeah, that's the guy who does the pussy jokes, because that sticks out obviously.
I feel like I can quote at least one line from most of the characters.
Oh, I definitely couldn't. No chance.
I mean, Dylan doesn't really have much in the way of quotable lines, just because the type of character he is.
Yeah.
He's very much the straight businessman character, as Carol Weathers. But yeah, no, the rest of them all obviously get the pussy jokes. And I mean, come on, yeah, you cannot tell me you did not enjoy Arnold's "stick around."
Oh no, I like the puns and the one-liners. Those are staples of what I expect from these movies.
All right, okay. Joe, this is the same thing I'd say about Alien. Obviously, to an Alien, even at a greater extent, but this is like, it's a schlocky B movie with production value, and it's just taken seriously.
Yeah.
Right, and because of that, it kind of elevates it into being something a little bit more. Because there's a reason why people remember this movie. There's a reason why people still talk about it, and why it's still, one of the major.
It's honestly, in my opinion, it's down to sheer design of the Predator is the reason.
It could be.
And I'm including the power set, shall we say, in that as being, okay, that's something different. I think that's why it's remembered more than anything else, in my opinion.
That's probably the biggest reason. I think, though, if it was just that, I think if you took away the music, if you took away the action stars, specifically Arnie, if you took away all the other elements that kind of make it work, and pretty good direction, I think there's a nice subtle thing the movie kind of does where it kind of avoids using wide shots for most of the movie, because it wants you to feel like you're just
trapped in the jungle.
Trapped in the jungle, yeah. Everything's closed in. Everyone's like tight spaces. It kind of feels like that the entire time. Even though you're essentially in this jungle that's how big, so vast, but you feel really trapped in little sections. No,
yeah,
of it.
It's very competently directed. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you got that, and it's. I mean, also in the movie, as it goes, it becomes more and more honed into a game of cat and mouse. Like the whole thing's a game of cat and mouse, really. But as the characters are dying off, it becomes more just a strict game of cat and mouse. The final act is very much just that.
Absolutely.
And I think if you dig that, and most sensible people, I think, do, then you have a blast with this movie. But
you say that you'll have a blast. I agree. It's fun. It is fun, but I don't think it's special.
This is so weird. You just not having some attachment to some of these movies is just bizarre to me. It's weird.
I honestly do think that is part of it, though. I don't have this attachment going in, so I'm not seeing it the same as most people. Admittedly, have seen this before when they were younger, and they care about this movie. There's nostalgia, all sorts. I'm just like, yeah, okay, it's pretty good.
Okay, how many times are you going to sort of jump back round to that same thing? Like, you've done it like 3 times at this point.
I'm done now.
Where you say your phrase and you go, oh, but it's pretty good, but I don't love it that much.
Oh yeah, I'm done. I'm done till I get to my nitpicks, and then that's where I'll really.
All right. So no, just simple little things like I find myself like when the song starts playing in the helicopter when they're on their way there. I'll start sort of tapping and singing along to it because I've seen the movie so many times that I know it. And they're all bathed in red light because they're in the helicopter, and it's very indicative. We're going to a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Movie, of course, is relatively violent. I mean, it's not actually that bad overall, but I think people remember a couple of key sequences and think of it as being this grotesque movie. Couple of skinned skeletons.
No, I agree. I think there's not as much as I was expecting based off, reputation. There are definitely moments that stand out, but they're spread out more than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah. So you get that. I think it's paced very well. It's very tight, 100 or so minutes. It doesn't waste any time. It sets up why they're there in the jungle, which is just a reason for them to be there more than anything else. Sets up a little bit of conflict amongst the men, a little bit, which. There's a couple of really simple little things it does throughout. Like, obviously, I mean, just a spoiler warning from here, I think, just so I can talk about things freely. But so spoilers. So Dylan, it turns out he's kind of betrayed them because Arnie's very much, we're a rescue squad. We don't, we're not assassins. We don't do this. It turns out the reason why Dylan wants them in there is because one of his men's went missing, and we find the helicopter, we find his dog tags, and there's blood everywhere, and all the rest of it. And it turns out this is more of a revenge thing. Like, he's like sort of tricked them into this, and Arnie's not very happy about that. But while they're on their way there, they show the conflict in how he's different from the rest of them, even though he's got a history with Dutch. Because Mac gets frustrated with him because he keeps tripping and stuff, and he's like, "Hey, you keep ghosting us. You keep doing that again. I am going to gut you and leave you here." Right. Later on, they actually end up having a camaraderie because they kind of bond because they both want revenge for the Predator, so they kind of go off together. And there's a weird and again, it's a really simple little thing, but it shows you just how the team dynamics changed from the start of the movie, because the two people who had the bulk of the conflict, even before it turned out he kind of betrayed them, have kind of come together at the end. It was just a simple little thing. It's like and I feel like that was a really neat little thing where they maybe didn't have that moment earlier on in the script. They had the bit later on where they team up to take on the Predator, and they probably said, "Hey, let's put a moment in at the start where they kind of have a bit of conflict, and it'll feel just kind of
just add to it." Yeah, definitely.
Just give it a bit more weight than it maybe did before. So yeah, since we're on spoilers, let's talk about the character of the Predator, because I really. It's a really interesting character in the sense that we discover as the film goes on, he won't fire on Anna. Anna, of course, is the one woman character who is the prisoner from the camp that they kind of ambush.
Yeah.
And at first she's a prisoner, but once they realise they're in so much danger, Arnold just cuts her free. He's like, "Hey, this thing's hunting all of us. If you want to even have a chance of staying alive, then stick with us. Otherwise, run off out of the jungle. Be yourself." But what we discover is that the Predator doesn't fire on her because it won't fire on someone who's unarmed, and he doesn't see as an actual threat that can defend itself.
Yes.
Which I think is very interesting. Again, that's the big thing that separates from the alien. The alien just wants to kill everything. The aliens,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Murder.
But I think it's interesting. You say, you mentioned earlier, it has maybe a code of honor, and I wonder, are you getting some of that from movies or just from this? Because here they specifically say, "Oh, I want to." I go, "No, it's because it's sport. It wants the fun of the thrill of the chase. That's not honor."
Okay, maybe honor was the wrong word. What I'm getting at, I think some of them do have honor, right? Maybe I'm getting that from later movies and comics and stuff. But so that whole thing, right, is that at the end of the movie, after we'll talk about how it leads up to there. But the Predator, when he realizes that Arnold's kind of like a match, he's almost impressed that he's fighting back so well. He takes off his mask, he takes off his gun, and it's basically the equivalent of throwing down the gun and the sword and taking off his shirt and being like, "All right then, let's go 1-on-1." Right? It's that moment. There's a sense of it's bravado, but it's respect. He's here for sport, and he sees him as a worthy opponent. It's almost a little bit Klingon, where they kind of respect, strength, and and I think it is established later on the idea that the Predator, they come to Earth every so often, and it's like a proving ground. Right. I think later on it's maybe implied that this is a teenager, coming to prove his worth.
Right. Okay.
Or something like that. Rather than it's not a rich guy going hunting kind of analogy. It's more, this is a younger Predator coming to kind of prove that he's a warrior and is worthy of the army or whatever. Again, I'm kind of bringing that in from later. You could sit and theorize a lot of this probably after you've watched the movie.
You can question things, sure.
Yeah, why is he here? What's that? Because I've always taken him setting off the bomb at the end as just him erasing the existence of him, erasing any trace that he was here, so no one can prove that they exist. That's kind of how I read that. I like that they have their own little language, the numbers. It's just these really different shapes.
Yeah, no, they are cool.
But yeah, so that's kind of what I mean by that, or more the fact that you won't kill someone who's not a soldier or not someone who's a threat.
Yeah, okay.
I think there's some honor in that.
That's fair.
It's not just blatantly murdering everyone he comes across with. He's only going after other warriors, I suppose is the correct word.
Yeah.
But so I dig that. I dig that. I dig all the sequences with them, because when it gets to the point where the Predator's killed a few of them, and obviously we have the big famous scene of them all shooting into the jungle. It's seemingly nothing, but and obviously Mac keeps the minigun going. Everyone stopped firing, and that's run out of ammo. But you just hear it spinning for another couple of seconds before he takes his finger off of it. That of course leads to the line, "If it bleeds, we can kill it," because Anna mentions, "Oh, the blood. When you shot at it, there was blood in the leaves."
Yeah.
So yes, for me, like when the movie gets really good is when they've decided, okay, we need to start setting up traps, and they basically sort of like go full First Blood and start setting up traps and hopefully lure it into like a center area.
And so this is where I have some of my questions.
Oh, go on then.
No, so to tie into the end, I have to mention otherwise this doesn't really work. So the mud, right?
Yes.
Like that is going to be essential for what I'm going to ask.
Right. So the big thing that happens in the movie is Arnold just kind of happens to, like, because he falls down a waterfall at one point when it's just basically just him that's left, and he crawls into the mud. He gets covered in mud and discovers that disguises his heat signature, so the predator can't see him. He's invisible to him, but in mud.
Right. So my question then becomes, how is he telling who's armed and who's not? Because guns don't give off a heat signature separate. And also, how is he avoiding things like tripwires?
Oh, tripwires is easy because he's using the trees. He's up top.
Okay, fair enough.
They even say that, I think, at one point. They say he's using the trees. That's how he's avoiding.
Well, they do. They say he's using the trees, but I didn't think that was the only. I thought he was using them because he knew where they were and was going around.
Oh, no. It seems like he's just always on the trees. Like he's never
Okay.
He's never walking
fair.
around in the ground. You almost never see that actually until the end.
Oh no, okay, that's fair. But the guns, I mean,
The guns. No, that's an interesting question. It's something that's always been part of the mythology is that he won't shoot at someone who isn't.
right? I get that.
So,
it's established quite clearly.
Yeah.
But it's infrared and what's the other? Thermal, infrared and thermal that we see.
Yeah, it is worth mentioning. We see, I think, in later movies he has different vision modes, like he switches. Right. Obviously, we don't see that here, but just the way they're holding the guns, I guess. Like the hands are like this, so gun.
I mean, maybe yeah.
I don't know. I mean, because they can sense a few things. We see later on that they can sense various other things, like they can read their heartbeats and things like that, and they can sort of, I mean, it could just be as simple as he can tell who's a warrior based on how they carry themselves and how they,
It could be, yeah. Like I said, I was willing to not say it's a problem because this could be explained in later films. It could be other vision modes.
Honestly, I don't know if it's ever specifically explained how they know they've got guns. I'm kind of just willing to roll with it though. For me, this isn't a big issue.
It wasn't a big issue. It was just something that crossed my mind. I'm like, how's that happening?
Yeah, that's fine. Obviously, he's an intelligent creature as well because at the very least, he understands laughter. Because he mimics the laugh, because obviously Billy finally laughs. He didn't laugh at the first pussy joke, but he laughs at the second one, the echo one, and he mimics that laugh at the end when he thinks he's going to kill Arnie because he's going to set off the bomb, which is one of the things why this one's actually kind of less. This one's a little bit more vindictive than maybe some other Predators we see in later movies because he goes out of his way to laugh at the fact that he's probably going to kill him even though he's lost the fight.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll let that sink with you, but
it's funny. I'm far more interested in the lore of the Predators than I am in what this movie actually is, if that makes sense.
I'll say, I mean, Predator 2 is mostly the same. I will say you'll love the final couple minutes if you're interested in Predator lore.
Okay,
Predator 2.
Like all the stuff I really like about this is the Predator itself and what it's doing, the actual action, the plot, the movie itself. I'm like, it's good, but the Predator is the key point that I like.
Oh, that's the bit. I mean, obviously it's the best part, but I think
right
when we get to the last act, when Arnold realizes the mud works, he then goes. I said this earlier, but he really goes full First Blood. It's like John Rambo. He's setting traps in the jungle. He's spikes and whatnot. It's a good job. He's really goddamn strong because he's lifting that big log in the rope to as the counterweight for the spikes.
It is, yeah.
But he's setting all this stuff up. He's made some makeshift arrows and like spears out of what he's got left. He's got some gunpowder from his
bomb arrow.
Yeah, because he's got like some grenades left. So he's like taking the gunpowder or whatever and making some, and he fires a thing out. Fires a flaming arrow out and he like yells into the jungle. And it feels very primal. It's like, okay, to beat him, I have to become a predator as well, because now he's the predator, and it becomes this cat and mouse thing. And I think that moment when he's standing on the tree and he's hugging the tree because he's trying to like blend in with the surroundings, and the predator lands behind him because that's how he moves. He moves around in the tree trunks. So and it's like right there. And do you know what? People always give Arnold shit for his acting, right? People say he's a bad actor, and I think it's because of the accent, and because if you give him certain things, he's not necessarily great. But there's times when he's great as a Terminator. He's fantastic in those movies, in the first two. I mean, there's a moment here when that Predator lands behind him, and it's just him sort of realizing and looking around. That is visual acting perfection. He nails that realization and look and the fear.
No, it's true. I think his best acting is in his body language.
Yeah, physical acting, he is actually really, really good. He doesn't get enough credit, which is probably why the Terminator is also really good, because a lot of it is physical, and when it's not, it's okay that he's a bit stilted because he's a robot.
Yeah, it's fine for to be mostly non-vocal. It's the presence,
and no one ever questions why the robot's got an Austrian accent, but whatever, it's fine.
Look, things happen in the future.
Actually, I think we talked about this at one point on a review somewhere, how no one ever questions that he's got an accent. And again, here, he's part of like an American military group. No one ever questions, why has he got an Austrian accent? No one brings it up.
I love how he's clearly been part of this for a long time, because he goes way back with the other dude.
Yeah, the general, he's got a history with Dylan, and then like now he's on his new team.
Yeah, but he's never lost that accent.
Oh, never, no. Well, to be fair, he's been an American citizen now for like 30, 40 years, and he's still not lost the accent.
No, it's true. But I honestly think he's at the point where he practices to keep his accent, because it's such an iconic part of his character, his brand, that he kind of has to have that accent now.
I don't think he has to practice. I think...
Okay, not practice, but he consciously is aware.
He consciously doesn't let itself change, yeah. He just keeps his... I think it's easy enough to keep your natural accent if you want to just keep it.
Yeah, but you have to. I do think he has made a conscious choice to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. It's part of his old shtick. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But no, so all the cat and mouse stuff at the end, where he's like ducking and diving, he's trying to get a hit off, and it doesn't quite land, and then like that first time when he makes the Predator like fire at something, and it lights everything up, because it's just like sparks and explosion, and it's like he's ducking and diving, and eventually when he finds him out, and it becomes a proper chase, and he's like crawling away, and he gets grabbed, and it becomes the mano-a-mano fight where the Predator takes off the mask, and the famous "you're one ugly" line, and all the rest of it. Great stuff. And I do like that the Predator's actually also gaining intelligence, like, because they've tricked him a couple of times. They've kind of laid some traps, because at one point he actually gets caught in the trap that goes up, the net.
Does, yeah.
And he fires his way out of it, and that's kind of when everyone kind of really gets to see him for the first time, as they realise, okay, this is real. Like, I mean, they know he's real because they've just seen enough people die at this point, but this is where they really get like, oh, this is the thing in the jungle. Because
there's something in there.
Yeah, because up until this point, like, Anna's like, oh, the jungle came alive and took him. Max, like, I saw something. I'm not really sure what it was, though. There's a lot of that up until this point.
There is.
And yeah, so Arnold basically crawls under the spike trap, and he's like, come here, kill me, I'm right here, do it, I'm right here, kill me. Really good. He's going full Arnold. In fact, this is the movie where "Get to the chopper" comes from.
You got to do it now.
Yeah, do it now. Yeah, great. All of it's fantastic. The other one I love where his accent really shines, it's proper Arnie, is when Mac's on guard during the night and the pig attacks him, but they think something bad's happening. And he's like, "Mac, where are you?" Like, he really goes for it.
It does.
But it's good. Anyway, so he's like, "Kill me, I'm right here, kill me." And the Predator's like, he's looking at the spike, he's touching it with his fingers, because again, it's like his vision's not great for this kind of thing. So he's touching it, he's like, "Oh, you're tricking me." And I was like, oh shit, as he goes around the trap. But then of course, conveniently, because that's the thing, the whole big log was the counterweight for this thing, but now he's standing underneath it, so it makes sense that it's right next to it, because it's the counterweight for that.
That's how these things work.
So he triggers the trap himself, and the thing comes down and hits him, and that's how he beats him. I really like that they do the fake out where Arnold's lying there and he thinks it's done, and then you see the log starts to move. The trunk starts to move, and he gets the rock, and you think, oh, okay, it's like a Terminator, to reference one of his own movies. It's still going, and then he gets the rock, he's about to hit him, and it's like, no, he's lying there dying. He's green blood everywhere, and that's when we get the laugh and the bomb, and I love that the bomb looks like a mini nuke, like when you see it in the sky.
It's a proper mushroom cloud, isn't it?
Yeah, and then Arnold's just like there in ash as the it's kind of the death theme comes back. That's kind of the funeral theme. Yeah. I like that. And then, the General and Anna are just in the helicopter looking at him like, Jesus, man, what
the hell just happened?
What happened? What did you go through?
Yeah.
I like that. I like how much of a gauntlet the movie feels, because once it gets going, there's no reprieve for the characters. There's no kind of hope. It's just, no, we have to try and survive and fight this. There's nothing else we can do. And I like the build to the mystery. One of my favourite things with certain types of story is the idea that something happened here and we don't know what, and we're trying to figure it out. You know, so it's part of why I love the start of Aliens, when they get, well, the first half of it, when they get to the base. Okay, something happened here. There's the remnants of what happened. It's the same when they find the helicopter, and like Billy's the tracker, and he's like, oh, there was like 12 men, and but something made them run or whatever, and he's like describing. It's like, what could have done this? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, that's true. I will say that part I could have done with more of.
You think?
It shifts out of that quite quickly. It's building that mystery, and then it kind of answers it quickly once it actually gets to it. It's like, okay, this is it now. It's just we're all in on this.
Yeah. I do like how they build the Predator though. Like, you see the vision at one point. You see, you know.
Yeah, the point of view shots and stuff.
If I remember, one of the best things about the first AVP, not to spoil the discussion of that when we get to it, but when that came out in 2003, like, that was the first time a Predator movie came out since 1991 or 2, whenever the second one came out. And, you know, I mean, that's still in my lifetime technically, but I was a baby. So, like, this was the first Predator movie. Me as a fan, this is the first, you know, because Alien had a few movies, you know, the fourth one was out in like 97, right? So I remember that coming out and seeing that around, you know, maybe when it hit video after it came out. So I got a new Alien movie at the time.
Yeah, you weren't getting into the cinema for that.
Yeah. But I never like had a new Predator movie in my life. You know, 1 and 2 existed. They'd always existed in my life, and that was it. So in AVP, the first time it went to the heat vision, and you heard the sort of the pulsing sound that it makes as you're seeing it, I was like, oh man. It was kind of like when I saw Superman Returns and I got his tear John Williams theme, you know, during the credits.
In a cinema, yeah.
I was like, oh man. Like,
no, I get you.
So, you know, but no, so it's super iconic in that sense. And obviously we've glossed over some various, but, you know, Dylan losing his arm and, you know, going to help Matt getting his head completely blown off by the Predator. Yeah, just, you know, good stuff. Poor Shane Black goes first. He's the first of the team to die.
Yeah, but he's still around. He's still around for the franchise. So
he's writing and directing. He somehow gained control of the whole thing.
Yeah, he first one out, but yeah, he's the one in charge now.
He's having the last laugh. You kill me off first, you bastards. I'm back, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Now everyone's going to die.
It's his turn to set off the bomb.
He's going to have a meta moment at the end. Like, all the characters are going to die on screen. Like, a nuke will go off. It'll nuke everything. He'll just come out. He'll just walk in front of a camera from his director's chair and go, yeah. And he'll say a pussy joke.
It'll hit.
No, he'll do a pussy joke.
Yeah,
he'll come out. Oh, that'd be a great post-credit scene, actually. Like, after, you know, because I want a proper serious Predator movie, but after the credits, just have him sitting in the director's chair, just selling pussy jokes. Like, he's got like 5 or 6 of them, just
a stack next to him.
Yeah,
a little flip through about. Oh, I like this one.
Oh dear. But no. So no. I mean, obviously, I dig Predator a lot. I think, as an action movie, it's a good, relentless time. It feels like they're in no man's land the entire time, and it is this big game of cat and mouse. You know, and you know, they all have lots of weapons. It's kind of it's the same kind of thrill to an extent. Not the same, because this is more like they're in danger. This is more there's a threat, but it's also got that thing where they're all packing so much ridiculous amounts of heat that there's so much firepower going off that you can't help but kind of enjoy the, you know, the kids playing with action figures kind of almost vibe to that stuff. Like, it's kind of like how I love the end of Commando with Arnie, where he just goes in with that arsenal.
Of course you do.
He's just strapped with like tons of guns and rocket launchers and, like, you know, silly cartoony action.
Over the top. Yeah.
This isn't quite that. This is a bit more serious, of course, but you know, it's got kind of that. That's kind of the fun of that whole scene where they're shooting into the jungle. The director, I think I remember from his very boring commentary track. I don't recommend it, but I do remember the tidbit where he said something like, "Oh, I really, you know, you want your characters shooting guns at stuff, but you don't necessarily want them shooting at people all the time because, like, you know, the people being shot, like, you don't want to make that too desensitizing." So he just came up with this idea to have them all shoot into the jungle at one point because they thought they were, you know, hitting a ghost, like, you know, there's a phantom or something, so they all fire.
That makes sense.
And he did the same thing in Die Hard. Actually, he admitted he used the same idea again because there's a scene in that where they all shoot the glass, the villains.
Yeah.
It was the same kind of idea, same principle.
No, I'm with you.
But hey, so no, I have fun with all that stuff. And I think it's got a mood. I think it's got a tone.
It does, yeah. It definitely does.
You know, it definitely does have that. And I think, yeah, I feel like it's definitely easier to write off than other movies. I feel like it's not got the prestige of Alien, by no means. Like,
No.
Alien and Aliens are easily better than all the Predator movies, no question. Although, would you agree this is better than the other Alien movies?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
I'm not disputing that. It's definitely a better movie.
That's good. I was wondering if you were that disinterested in it that it was then
No,
lesser than
like
Alien
I say,
3 or whatever.
I recognize the quality. I enjoy it well enough. It's just Arnie is the archetypical action hero
Yep.
that I just don't care about watching, unfortunately.
Oh no, I love Arnie. But here's the thing though. Here's why his casting makes sense though. The whole point is that he's the best of us. You know, essentially,
No,
he's the best.
I agree. That's my point. This isn't a knock against the movie. This isn't a knock against Arnie himself, or, or any of his roles. I understand why people like these. I understand why people enjoy watching his movies. I've just never been into it. It's to go to compare the Die Hard. There's the link. It's a different type of action hero that I can enjoy more.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the biggest problem here for me. It's not a problem with the movie; it's a problem for me that I have that disconnect.
I actually like both kinds of action hero. I think you can do both of them well and both of them correct.
You can do them well. That just doesn't mean I'll care. But
Oh,
this is
sure.
done well. It's just I don't still it's not enough for me.
But what I mean is that there's like I enjoy the action hero who's a bit of a Terminator, no pun intended. That's the best thing to use for it. But I also use the vulnerable one who does get the shit beat out of them and just kind of just narrowly scrapes through by the end of the movie. You know, that's the kind of thing. That's why I think this works so well to subvert your expectations. Is Arnie is the typical action hero who normally is the Terminator. Again, no pun intended. I'm just using that as a broad sense to say he's indestructible, right? But here, this thing is so badass that it turns him into the John McClane, where he is just scraping through narrowly by the skin of his teeth, and he is that desperate. As my cat is up to no good.
As always.
Yeah, he's behind the monitor doing all sorts of shenanigans. I don't know what he's up to.
Give it a second. Something will start shaking.
So I think that's why I think casting him was a genius in that, which is why it's interesting. Cause obviously, he just didn't come back for 2, but they cast Danny Glover, so we'll talk a lot about I think how that changes the dynamic of the
definitely
the characters. Because instead of a team of soldiers, we have a team of cops. Because in a city, next movie,
obviously.
in the not too distant future of 1997. So
I love it.
I know. I love going back to old movies when it's like, the future of 2002.
And I just love seeing what their version of the future was.
Yeah. So no. That is basically Predator. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to mention. Direction, characters, action. Obviously the Predator design, the lore of the Predator, all that stuff. I think I hit all the points I wanted to. But I love it, and it's funny. It's one of those movies where I put it on, and I know it so well. And again, actually, just to remember one more thing from the commentary track that I remember, which wasn't even necessarily related to the movie itself. It was just he was talking about when he was in like film school and he was learning film, that he would like a violinist, for example, in an orchestra. Like they would learn their piece. They'd get to a point where they wouldn't have to actually look at their music anymore. They would just know it through and through from start to finish. So one of the tasks that one of his professors gave him in university was he had to learn a film, like all the shots from start to finish, so he could then recite it.
Right. Okay.
Later, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is like, I can't recite the shots in this movie, not by a long shot. That sounds like a hell of a task to memorize a film like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. A piece of music you're doing now.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5 minutes.
That's why you pick something a director who likes long takes. That's how you pick to memorize your movie. But the reason I bring it up though is because I'm just thinking, it's one of those movies where I've seen it so much that it's almost like the edits, the cuts, the shots that are coming next, the one-liners that are coming next.
You're just waiting for it because you know what's coming.
Yeah, it's like singing along with your favourite song.
I'm with you.
You're kind of there. It's one of those movies for me.
It's not quite singing along with the song. It's putting on an album where you know the flow so well that you get to the end of the song and you start hearing the start of the next one. Like you know where exactly the transition. You know how it's going to go into it.
So that's a good way of putting it. And obviously we can't gloss over the the gif that's used relentlessly from this movie is when Dutch sees Dylan at the start. He's like, "You son of a bitch," and then they like smack their hands together, and it's like they're arm wrestling in the air.
Yeah.
And you just see the bulging muscles on both sides. You know, it's funny. I'm not someone who's into like hyper masculine attitudes or anything like that. And I think the reason why stuff from the 80s and 90s works for me is because there's a cheesy element to it. Whereas now, when they do hyper macho stuff, I feel like they are taking themselves really seriously.
They are, yeah.
And I just like, no, you're actually acting like this is how we should all be acting. Whereas this is like, no. This is even in this, which is a very serious movie. There's just an element of no, like we're still kind of people who are, reasonable.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I like it. Actually, one final point before we rate the movie. I just want to give everyone a warning about the Blu-ray. Right, I want to just give a bit of technical advice on the Blu-ray. If I just to go back to the tight shots, I think that's maybe why it wasn't anamorphic. It was 185. They wanted a narrower frame. Just to go back to that for a second, because I just thought of it. So there you go. So also I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but they didn't give him the widescreen version of the Fox logo at the start, so it stretched. Did you notice it?
Yeah, I did. It was really like
yeah,
because I know we have spoke about this before. Yeah. Maybe when we were doing the Alien movies, I don't know.
Maybe, but I remember you saying I'm going to look out for that now.
Here's the thing: it had been so long that I forgot that you'd mentioned that.
But when you saw it, you remember me saying it.
I was like, "Oh, what's going on there?" I was like, "Oh, yeah."
I remember saying this, but it was like, no, like it's not like they don't have the widescreen version. Before, it's almost like that day in the edit suites where they were editing the movie. It's like the regular guy who knows where everything is wasn't there, and like the assistant only knew where that one was. It's like, oh, you just have to use this.
This'll do.
Yeah. That pissed me off for years. But yeah, so Predator's a pretty gritty looking movie in the sense that it's got some scratches. It's got a bit of grain to it.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's still, even putting that in HD or 4K or whatever can look fantastic because it at least looks natural film. The first Blu-ray, which had no extras, unfortunately, because there were some good extras on the 2-disc DVD, but they re-released it with all the extras and a new transfer. Unfortunately, the new transfer on the Blu-ray that you can buy now is DNR'd to shit. Everyone looks like a wax model. It is disgusting. So, forewarning, if you want to buy it on Blu-ray, I highly recommend getting the out-of-print bare bones version with the more natural looking image. The newer one looks atrocious. And unfortunately, that's probably the transfer that pops up if they put it on like Netflix or Amazon or anything like that.
It would be, yeah.
So that is a bit of a shame. So I highly recommend hunting that one down. I still have that original release. I'm just lucky that I bought it before they got rid of it and they put the new one. Luckily, Predator 2, fantastic Blu-ray.
No problem there.
For whatever reason, that looks great. Has all the extras from the DVD. Nothing to concern about. Got the A+ treatment.
How strange.
Yeah, it's bizarre. But do you know what bugs me though? It's because they did it because just a minority like, oh, this is dead grainy and shit. So instead of doing a proper remaster like they did for the Alien movies, because Alien and Aliens look absolutely beautiful.
They are some of the best looking
remasters
that I've seen. Like by far, like just that it should not look as good as it does.
Absolutely gorgeous. Instead of doing that, they just put it through some digital processing. They flicked a switch and okay, apply 50% DNR reduction. I shouldn't have said that. Digital noise reduction. The extra reduction was redundant.
Yeah, it was.
Point being, they flipped a switch and then it came out the other end with no work.
It was a problem with early Blu-ray where people expected everything to be cleaner and better.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be sharper.
Yeah. Sometimes you want to see the grain. The grain looks better.
It's intentional.
There.
It's supposed to be there because that was shot with that in mind. It was, they were aware of that when they're filming it.
Yeah. And I think people confuse grain and noise, because back in VHS there was noise. You didn't actually see grain on VHS. The quality wasn't good enough to see grain. You saw noise, which is different. Grain's a lot finer, and it's actually part of the image. It's almost like the texture of the film, which sounds really pretentious to say that, but it is. That's what it looks like. It looks like a texture rather than like there's something that shouldn't be there. Yeah. And unfortunately, enough people complained that they butchered the new Blu-ray. So. Here's hoping they'll do like some sort of proper 4K treatment or something at some point to jazz it up so it's nice and pretty.
Well, I mean, at least there's a new one coming. The franchise is revived, so it's like, okay, it's not dead. There's reason for them to keep it around and consider it.
And I think it's worth saying as well that there's a reason why when, Disney, this talk of Disney buying Fox and getting their assets, typically people say, oh, they're going to get Die Hard, Alien, and Predator. That's usually the third one.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And then they go, oh, also Avatar, funnily enough. The biggest, highest grossing movie of all time. They're getting Avatar.
I think it's because, as of right now, there's only one of those. We know there's more,
it's funny because it's
5
obviously
or 6 more coming, whatever the idiot's got planned.
It's made the most money, but obviously it's only one movie. It's not really got a legacy as of yet. It's not got the pop
It's got
culture.
the prestige of being that movie that made that much money. But
it doesn't have the pop
this
culture
has survived
relevance.
the test of time in terms of 30, 40 years give or take, for these various franchises.
Yeah, so I assume you're just lukewarm excited then for Predator 2 at this point.
Yeah, it's like
okay, I'll say one thing that'll get you excited for Predator 2. Actually, I'll say 2 things. One is Bill Paxton. The only living... Well, actually not living, that's a sad... I now feel bad. The only actor who has ever been killed on screen by all 3 Terminator, Alien, and Predator.
Yep.
So, male spoiler, his character doesn't survive. But...
I mean, I would have expected it to.
But, still. So, Bill Paxton. But even more to your taste, I think. Gary Busey.
Oh, okay. So, here's the thing. This movie is a movie that I said at the start I'll probably never watch again. I don't know if that's true. I might watch it again, but it'll be just on the TV while I'm doing something else. While I'm cleaning doing the clean or something, It'll just be on at the side, and I'll look over when the cool stuff's happening. It'll probably never get my full attention again.
Just think, when they made this movie, they never even thought that was a possibility someday, that someone could just watch a movie on a tablet whilst they're cleaning dishes.
Right. I don't think I'd ever watch on a tablet. That would be cruel.
Whatever. Whatever.
I'm not evil. Come on.
I'm not some Philistine scum. What are you talking about?
I respect that it has quality enough to at least have a reasonable sized screen to see what's happening. Just not all my attention on it. But it'll always be in the corner of my eye, that sort of thing. But it wouldn't be something like I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch Predator. Yeah. So with that in mind, Predator 2, it kind of like, okay, it's the same movie again. I get that. I'm probably going to have fun again. It's probably going to be some one-liners that I enjoy.
What about a Jamaican gang? Does that excite you?
Not particularly.
Okay.
That's not a negative though. That's here nor there.
Predator 2 might be more violent actually. Now I'm thinking about some of the gore.
No, that's fair. But I mean, like, I'm looking forward to getting through the franchise, learning more about the Predators in general, the lore. So it doesn't necessarily make me excited for 2, other than you saying about that the stuff or whatever's at the end. That has me excited. But I'm looking forward to the ideas of the Predators.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll rate the movie then. So what laughably mediocre rating are you giving this then?
I know it gets a 7. It's a good movie, but that's it.
Mine's actually not that much higher. I give it a straight 8. Like I don't think it. I like it should be heralded as this amazing thing, but I think is a quintessential action movie. I think it does all the beats perfectly, as well as being kind of a horror movie at the same time. Like when Arnold's like not only laying all the traps, but when he's putting on the mud, like, and he's sort of, it's almost like he's putting on war paint, like he's sort of doing that with the fingers. It really feels like it's like we're getting to Act 3. He's gearing up for the final fight. Like the momentum and pacing of the escalation of the fighting and the action is perfect.
It is, but I think that's partially why I can't go any higher than 7, because it's just exactly what I expect it to be. It's like, okay, yeah, here's that moment. Like, I get it. I see what it's doing, and that's good. You got to do that, but at the same time, it's not exciting to me.
So, sensible people in the comments, let us know how much you enjoy Predator. And like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. There'll be a link to that in the description, but otherwise that is us. So thank you very much once again. Of course, we will be back with Predator 2 in about a month's time. The idea is to do one a month, which will take us up relatively close to the new one coming out later in the year. Yeah. So basically, we're saying we're 5 or 6 months away from the new one. So
Yep.
yeah, so let us know. Like, subscribe. I said all that already. So thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies. And Connor, you're one ugly motherfucker.